I really dreaded coming home and telling my wife. That was just one of the worst things. In the 1990s, I had been working at this job. I was in retail management. It was a good job. I made pretty good money for a lot of years, and things had changed in my life. I got married. I had kids, 3 kids, house payment, a couple car payments, all sorts of consumer debt, and the job just really wasn't going anywhere. It felt like there was a ceiling, and it was getting tougher and tougher to make a living. I started feeling discontent, like I needed to change something because I really wanted to provide for my family, and it felt like it was going to be really challenging to do that going forward. So I'd come home, I talked to Penny about it, and I really didn't have a plan. She was a little apprehensive, She said, don't just jump on something and do something stupid. Financial security is important. You got a family to provide for. So I just kind of shelved it, and the years went by, and right around 2000, a couple friends I knew were working in a telecommunications industry, and a job popped open in supervision, and they told me, man, you should apply for this. This would be tailor-made for you with your skills. So I applied, they liked me, they offered me a job, and we started praying about it. We didn't jump quickly, we prayed about it. We got a sense from God, like, yeah, now's the time. This is the job for you. I think this is what we should do. Me and Penny both, Penny's my wife, we both felt really strongly that this was good. So I turned in my resignation, and in July of 2000, I started this new job. I was so excited. I felt like this was going to be a new beginning. I felt like God had great things in store for us. So I started this new job, and I was just getting settled in. Everything was going really well. I was making really good money. I felt like it was a great blessing from God. Little did I know that the tech bubble, or the .com bubble as they called it, was about to burst. And when it did, it sent the whole telecommunications industry into a tailspin. So my company made several rounds of downsizing. I still remember the day. I got the call. They said they wanted to meet me in the office early. I knew it was bad. Started praying hard, asking God, you got to intervene, you got to do something to help me through this, Sure enough, I go to the office, and I was one. They told me I had lost my job. I was scared to death. I was mad, I was angry, I was afraid. I was just a mess with emotions. I walked out of that building. I kind of looked up into the skies. Nobody was around. I just yelled, "What are you doing? Is this some sort of sick joke?" I felt like he had answered my prayer and that he had opened this new door to provide for my family, and now it's gone. I'm unemployed. I was a mess. I was a really mess. I really dreaded coming home and telling my wife. That was just one of the worst things. I felt like a complete failure. I felt inadequate. I felt like I was nothing. I come home and told her it was a bad day. It was a really bad day. And I had for so many years assessed myself as a man, and with my ability to provide for my family, my job, taking care of the family and providing, that's how I identified myself. And all that was gone. I didn't know who I was. I didn't know where I fit. I felt like everybody was staring at me, even people that didn't know me. I was just walking down the road or in a store, and I just feel like people were looking at me like, oh, that guy's probably don't have a job. He's a loser. It was a bad time. It was one of the lowest points of my life at that point. So there I was. I was like shell-shocked. I was in a daze for several days. And I had so many unanswered questions. I felt like God had opened this door and given me this job to provide for my family. Just like that, it's gone. I didn't know, was God mad at me all of a sudden? Was this the hand of God moving against me, or was it an attack from the devil? What's my next move? To be honest with you, I was really mad. I was mad at God, actually, when you get right down to it. And I started praying, what else can you do? And, back in that time, the church world had really moved into a prosperity gospel. It was everywhere, really. And so I did what a lot of good Christians do. I made my list of prosperity scriptures, and I memorized them. I had pages of them committed to memory. I'd go on these long prayer walks, and I would just constantly quote scriptures to God. I was reminding him of his word, and his word can't come back void. So I thought the more I quoted his word, that kind of the more obligated he was to honor his word. And I thought I was building my faith. I was really careful to only speak positive, just keep claiming scriptures over my life. Don't speak any doubt, nothing negative. Don't open the door for the devil to get in there. Keep it all positive. And that's what I did day after day. And that's what my prayers were. It was just one barrage after another. God, I thank you that you said this. God, I thank you that you're providing this for me. God, I thank you for the job you've already sent. It's on its way. It's going to get here any day. And, we were taught that God is a big God. And think big. Don't ask for something little. Ask for something big. Stretch your faith. He's the God of the universe. He owns it all, right? It's nothing for him to give you what you ask for. And after all, we're the apple of his eye. He wants us to have it all. So I thought. I was taught to be specific. Like, if you wanted a new car or a vehicle, tell them what you want. Tell them the make, the model, the color, the options you want. And so I applied that to the job I was seeking. So I said, God, I want you to show yourself big in my life. I want you to give me a 6-figure job. I want 6 weeks of vacation. I want a lot of perks and benefits. I want a car allowance. I want a company-provided laptop, a company-provided cell phone. And I promised God, I said, God, you will get all the glory for this miracle job you're sending me. And this went on and on and on, day after day. That's the way I prayed. But the days kept going by. They turned into weeks. The weeks turned into months. The months turned into a year. And heaven seemed to be closed. There were no answers, no jobs. Our debt was piling up. And I was getting confused. I don't know what was going on. I had certainly confessed enough scriptures, but nothing was happening. Penny, thank God, proactively signed up for nursing school and started that. And I started questioning, like, where's this going? Something's not right. So finally, in the late spring of 2002, I went on another one of my prayer walks, right? And I remember this day so vividly in my mind. I took a very long walk, and the whole way I did the exact same thing I do every time. Just one scripture after another. Everything that was in me, I let it out. Every scripture. And probably 45 minutes into the walk, I was on my way back. I was completely empty. I had nothing left to say. Nothing. I was at this point where I had said every word that I could say. There's nothing left for me to say. And I stood there, right, like on the side of the road, just looking around. And I think for the first time in a whole year, my mind was quiet. There was nothing. There was no traffic going on. There was nothing in my mind. I just looked around and observed. And it was at that moment, in that quiet moment, that this great voice of clarity came to me. I heard this voice, not really in my ears, but in my mind, clear as could be. If you're cringing right now, because I'm about to say I believe it was God speaking to me, I understand that, because I usually cringe too. But that's what I believe happened. It was clear as could be. I believe it was the voice of God. He said, listen, I allowed you to be born in the United States of America, the freest nation on the face of the earth. You can choose any career you want. There's no limitations on you other than the ones you put on yourself. And you've asked for a job that you're not remotely qualified for. You've asked me to give you something that you're not even willing to work for yourself. And if you want a better job, then you should prepare for it. You should go out and get the skill set that you need to perform in that kind of a job. You know, I designed you uniquely. I gave you specific gifts for you to use. Now, why don't you use them? If you want to be an engineer, fine. I'll bless you. Go do it. You want to be a CRNA? That's fine too. I'll bless you. But you got to do it. If you want it, you got to go for it. You put your hands to the plow, and I'll bless what you put your hands towards. I just stood there, quiet, just taking it all in. I felt like God had answered a prayer, but not really in the way that I had hoped for. I'd always thought that some headhunter would call me and say, hey, I got this great job for you. No, that's not what happened. I've really felt like God had checked me. You know, I'm asking him to do something for me that I'm not willing to do myself. And there was an overwhelming feeling like there's not going to be any miracle job coming your way. I also struggled with God's permissive will, if you want to call it that. I've been kind of taught, like most of my life, that, you know, God's going to open this door or that door, or he's going to give you this dream or this vision for you to complete. Very specific, and you don't do it unless God tells you to do it. But in this particular case, for me, I felt like he said, you pick, you go after it, and I'll bless it. And so that's what we were going to do. I mulled it over for a bit. I went home, talked over with Penny, and we were in agreement. And she felt like the same way, like, all right, it's time to get a plan. Let's get this thing going. So I prayed about it for a good long while. I considered several different job categories, different fields, engineering, nursing, anesthesia, etc. And I really felt like I wanted to be a nurse anesthetist. It's a certified registered nurse anesthetist, CRNA. It's a master's level degree. And we come up with a plan. First 2 years, Penny was going to finish her schooling, and I was going to work full time and get us through that. Years 3 and 4, I was going to do my nursing school full time, work part time. Year 5, I was going to do my bachelor's work in nursing. Year 6, I was going to prep for my GRE exam and start applying for anesthesia schools. And year 7, 8, and 9 would be actually going through anesthesia school. So 9 to 10 years was the plan. It was kind of daunting, it was kind of scary, and it seemed like a huge mountain to climb. A little scary. Fortunately, I had a cousin that gave me a good piece of advice. She said, "Paul, don't look at it that way. Every class you take, every semester you finish, just like kind of consider it like a pie. You just ate a piece of pie. It's one more piece done. Don't get overwhelmed with the big picture. Just keep it simple, one step at a time." And that's what we did. We had a plan. I was ready to roll. I was energized. I was motivated. I felt like I had heard from God. That's all I needed. 2002, in this summer, I was 41 years old and started my first college class. Nobody in my family had even went to college, actually. I was the first. Me and my brother were the first to go. And I knew going into it, because of my age, that I better have straight A's or pretty darn close to straight A's. Why? Because number one, it's really tough to get into an anesthesia program. There's a lot of people trying to get in. And add to that, being older, it works against you. So I knew I better have a stellar GPA. I gave everything I had. I was constantly studying, or at work, or at clinicals, or at college. There was very little time left for anything. Very little time left for my wife or my kids. And we paid a price, a big price. My kids suffered, actually, because even when I was home, I'd have my nose in a book. And I feel bad about that, but I don't know how else I could have done it. You have to study, you have to know what you're doing to get a job like that. And God was faithful, though. I did my part, but God also did his part. And unexpectedly, or maybe sometimes expectedly, I kind of had in the back of my mind like a confidence that he's going to find a way. I'll get in. So I graduated with my nursing degree, and right away, a perfect job lined up in the ICU, which is where I needed to be. And it was a good place for me to spend the next 4 years learning the trade, learning my skills. And then I finished my bachelor's degree. And in 2009, I interviewed for anesthesia school. I was prepared to interview in 50 states if I needed to. But my first interview was at Akron, and there was over 150 qualified ICU nurses with bachelor's degrees trying to get a seat, and they were only offering 27 seats. God was faithful. I had put in a tremendous amount of work and study, but he was faithful, and he opened the door. So in 2010, I started the program. I really want to emphasize that, yeah, I did my part. I worked hard, but so did God. I really feel like I had God's favor. And just a couple quick examples. In nursing school, I got accepted into the preceptorship for ICU. Great fit for me. The people there liked me, and I had a job waiting for me in the ICU as a new grad. It's not unheard of, but it's what I needed. I was ready to apply to all 50 states if I needed to for anesthesia school. I started at a local school, University of Akron, and I really prayed hard that God would open that door if that was His will, and it was His will, because He opened the door. Great program, a great director. They were really committed to their students to make sure they were successful. And along the way, while I was in school, I got to rotate to some great clinical sites, one of which really liked me, and I had a job waiting for me when I graduated. And it's been a great job, a great place to learn, a safe environment, and I really feel like that was the hand of God. I did my part, but He was there every step of the way blessing me. So I made it through school, and in August of 2012, I graduated. I was almost 51, and they told me I was the second, not the oldest, but next to the oldest. There was a guy that was 52 who had graduated one time in the program, and I was almost 51. So I was the second oldest guy to make it through the program. Pretty happy about that. September, I took my boards, studied hard, relentlessly studying. God was with me, passed the boards first time through. And in October, I started my job, a job that I was prepared for, a job that I had studied for, a job that I was competent in, and I was ready for that. I didn't get there overnight. It took 10 years to do it, but I was there. You know, God's ways are not our ways. For me, this was a journey of perseverance. In the beginning, I felt like God had given me a great job in 2000, turned right around and lost it. A whole year, I was praying every day. I'd pray and I'd just unload everything I had on God, but never listening. I wanted an easy way out. I was hurting. It was miserable. But you know what? No matter how many scriptures you throw at God, He can't be manipulated or twisted. It's just not possible. It took a full year for me to get that out of me, to get quiet, to where I could actually hear Him. Thank God, He's merciful. He's perfect in every way. I was asking for a quick fix, but what He gave me was His perfect counsel. And you can trust Him because He's perfect in every way. He is the way maker.